Hello everyone, welcome to game 1 in a series. This is Crota giving you a shoutcast between Empire's Kaz and Shortsutff, who is also, well actually I'm not sure, I'm pretty sure that this is going to be Slayer's Alicia. If you guys didn't know from the previous cast with Grubby versus Shortsutff, Shortsutff is actually a European account for the Slayers team, and the Slayers team all play on Shortsutff. And I believe Shortsutff is Alicia this time around. Let's see what's going to be going down in this game and matchup. Now, one thing I did do after a couple of you guys have left comments for me, I did run the unit preloader map. So hopefully that will reduce the amount of just a stoppage sometimes that happens in StarCraft 2, especially when casting and watching replays. It was something that I noticed as well, so it did just try to load everything in StarCraft 2 all at once. One thing I could do in order to help overall performance, it would be to lower the graphics quality, but then again, who wants to watch in the lowest graphics quality? Mainly the professional players play in the lowest quality, just because they want to make sure that they're able to control everything and do everything that they need. Alright, let's take a look at the builds so far. Shortsutff now moving across the map with this one particular overlord. We'll be able to spot over here, keep track of this gas. Another overlord could keep track of this gas as well, but then would have to be very careful against any marines. It looks like Kaz is going to be going into a 1-Rax expand here on Antigua Shipyard. Meanwhile, Shortsutff going for his own fast 14 or 15 hatch. So this is going to turn into an economic game, and now what we've really seen from Shortsutff as of late is that very defensive style of Zerg. Zerg players have that really strong benefit of being able to wall up with spine crawlers, essentially a mobile stationary defense. Yeah, go figure. Mobile stationary defense that doesn't cost supply. That is one of the reasons why Zerg is so strong in the late game. On top of that, Broodlords have very far range, and Infestors are very effective, essentially generating a lot of units over time. We are going to see Kaz now go into a refinery right after the command center goes down, and this is not something I typically see. Yeah, I still need that cough switch. This is not something I typically see. Kaz only going for 1 gas here. Perhaps he's going to be trying to go into something a little bit unorthodox with this one particular gas. Most of the time I see either double racks or double gas into double racks, especially against Zerg, where Terran bio with Metavax is a very strong option. Now, if Shortsutff is able to get up and running on 3 bases, he is going to be very difficult to stop. A lot of the times, a lot of Zerg players, or you've seen a lot of Zerg players, you know, okay, they have 2 bases, they have 1 base, I need 2. They have 2 bases, I need 3. They have 3 bases, I need 4. Now, although that does work out well sometimes, Shortsutff, what we actually saw him do, or Alicia, what we saw him do, was he stayed on 3 bases for a while and utilized Infestors very effectively with those Broodlords. If you remember, these Vespene Geysers have 2,500 gas each, which means that you have plenty of gas for Infestors and Broodlords, and later in the game your mineral patches will generally mine out before your Vespene Geysers, and as long as you're able to slowly push out with those spine crawlers, Broodlords, and Infestors with maximum energy, there's not much you really need to worry about. Now, Kaz is going into the typical Terran triple command center already, and he's most likely just going to be training up SCVs off this command center, not lifting it off and landing it here just quite yet. If he does land it here, he would be really much exposing himself very early on. Shortsutff sitting at 46 over 52 supply, very heavy in drones, 35 drones, also with 4 queens in play, so that is a lot of defense with those queens. Queens now with that range of 5, I hear they're really good. Those queens just really effective and shooting those darts and taking down a lot of those units as well. So we are going to see some creep tumors now be placed down, some creep tumors up on the high ground as well, as we are taking an overlord doing a quick flyby. He is going to spot this factory, siege tech now being added. Is he going to spot that other command center is the question. Yes, he does, in addition to the 2 barracks. So that Overlord definitely saw everything it needed to see, and only cost 100 resources for all of that valuable scouting. Now, taking a look into what Shortsutff is doing, he is opting to go into tier 2 already. Now getting to get 3 drones on each of those gas. That very heavy intensive gas play after the initial very heavy mineral play. Queens are starting that creep tumor spread, and Shortsutff should be able to get the creep about halfway across the map very soon. Each of these queens has creep tumors of their own, and then you can also see these creep tumors being placed down as well. And as Shortsutff gets the energy, he's going to add more and more and push out with these queens. Queens are very fast on creep. They're as fast as a medevac in the air, so that goes to show you how highly mobile they are. An orbital command will be landing off down over here, so he's actually taking that expansion a little bit earlier than I thought, but he's not really risking much since he does have 2 siege tanks in position already. A siege tank here and a siege tank here, with more siege tanks being added. Any roach pressure would easily get shut down as long as there was no way to get sight up onto that high ground, say with an Overlord. Infestation pit coming in already. Shortsutff now making his way over with that Overlord, and he spots it. Will he be able to shoot it down, or will Kaz be able to shoot it down with those Marines? That will be the question there. The Overlord down to 4 hit points. It does get taken down. I know it looked a little bit farther, but you have to remember, anytime you have an air unit, you actually have to shoot underneath where that dot is, and that was just enough range right there. Overseer now doing a quick flyby. No pneumatized carapace at all. Kaz does not see Shortstuff's 1 Overseer here, and even if he does spot it, the Overseer does have a very fast movement speed. Alright, the creep tumors are already slowly pushing out once more. Shortsutff sitting on 63 drones. He is now behind in terms of overall supply, but he is starting to bank up a lot of minerals and gas. I believe once the pathogen glands are at the 40-second mark, we should be seeing some infestors now being added anytime soon. Now, don't make me a liar, as we are going also into a macro hatch right here. So far it is 3 bases to 360 drones, or 66 drones, 60 SCVs, and Kaz should be able to play a very effective game here. But surprisingly, he still doesn't have combat shield, just researching stim, and he really needs to get combat shield to really fight back against that fungal growth. The fungal growth dealing so much damage to all of those Marines. Adding 10 hit points definitely does help. Alright, 6 infestors now being added, as I thought would be happening. We are going into a second factory by Kaz. Also, level 2 weapons upgrade could be coming in, yes, as the armory is already done, and Kaz is really just on top of this particular build. He is playing very efficiently, but then Shortstuff's creep spread is nothing to laugh at. This creep spread already more than halfway across the map, and will just continue to press out and press out. It's going to take a lot of time for Kaz in order for him to clear out all of those creep tumors. Perhaps investing into a Raven would be a very smart move. Alright, Kaz now with an enormous mining advantage, as Kaz does have, what, 3 mules off over here. So 3 mules, very effective. We are going into a lot more Marines, and then we could be going into some trades. We have a hive coming in. We have a spire also being built as well. The timing difference there shows that perhaps we could be going into Broodlords after a couple Corruptors are in the air. One medevac now trying to do a bit of a flyby. He does not know how bad that creep tumor has been spread out across the map, and in come some infestors here. The infestors are going to be able to easily get a fungal growth, and wow, that was an absolute destruction there as another fungal growth comes in. Down goes the medevac, and easily cleaned up by Shortsutff. But another drop coming in off over here. There is a spore crawler here, as the Marines are now trying to make their way in. Zergling's going to come over and clean this up. Baneling's finding their target, and Shortsutff easily handling this 2-pronged drop. Alright, Kaz now looks across the field, sees a whole bunch of creep, and his heart is just simply sinking at this point. There is still this Overseer here. Easily could drop in some changelings and keep track of what's going on elsewhere in the map. Kaz deciding to move out. We are going into a greater spire. Crackling upgrades. Baneling movement speed coming in as the Zerglings try to come in for a quick attack. No, Kaz simply with too many siege tanks. Siege tanks taking 3 seconds or 4 seconds to siege and unsiege. Wow, is it 4 now? Oh wow, I always thought it was 3. Alright, so 4 seconds to siege and unsiege. And that is going to be a little bit of a problem there, as the siege tanks are now making their way down off over here. Zerglings are going to be positioning themselves. Siege tanks are ready to go. There you go. Going to be blasting away at some of these creep tumors, trying to make their way down over here at the 6 o'clock expansion location. A mass swarm of Zerglings now coming inside the main choke point here, as the infestors are going to be a little bit on life support. Where are they going to go? They are simply by themselves. They need to hit some really critical fungal growth, and they could be doing exactly that. Only one fungal growth. There's another fungal growth. A little bit more on some of the other units here, as we now see some Marines chasing after the infestors. The infestors are moving very quickly. Another fungal growth could be coming in, as we are going to lose this hatchery here at the 6 o'clock location. Meanwhile, Zerglings battling up against SCVs both sides and losing a lot of workers so far, but Shortsutff losing a Shortsutff has killed a lot more, as we now see the siege tanks are really pushing out a bit too far on the creep. That's going to be a very dangerous proposition. Kaz now trying to take down this one particular hatchery. It won't go down. The regeneration going to be simply too much. Shortsutff still running up on 4 bases so far, and now we are going to see Kaz get into double starport. Overseer could come in and yes, gets a contaminate onto an engineering bay to delay any more research there. So level 3 weapons upgrade will be delayed. Meanwhile, Broodlords may get shot down. Yes, one Broodlord does get taken down. No armor upgrades, no weapons upgrades at all, as we are now seeing a planetary fortress here. Triple mules being used to mine out this location. We are going very heavy into Viking production, and it looks like Kaz will have the right answer for Shortsutff, as the siege tanks do get taken down. Zerglings now swarming in are the infestors. Yes, get off some fungal growth, forcing all of those units to stand still. That was a problem there, as Kaz now may end up losing a siege tank to Broodlings. No, is able to back away just in time. Those siege tanks able to roll back home. Alright, we see 4 Broodlords, infestors. This one particular hatchery once again being rebuilt. Long distance mining here, as the Marine able to finish off that poor Zergling. The Marine now just in position shooting drones as they're doing some long distance mining. But what was that? 2 Broodlings show up to the scene and take it down. Alright, one medevac now looking to clear up the 3 o'clock location once more. Shortsutff and Kaz really battling it out. Zerglings will be able to get there momentarily, but the hatchery will still fall. Medevac not bothering to pick up the 7 of the Marines. Apparently had a grudge against one of them, as the medevac now going to be doing a bit of rallying and then perhaps dropping back into this location here. Alright, it is going to be what, 4 bases versus 4 bases now. Terran base is nearly mined out. You can see oversaturation on this base here, as some SCVs now finally being transferred. Zergling's going to find a planetary fortress, and only to get shot down in a matter of seconds. Zergling's now looking to come back down here as well. The Broodlords could easily make their way over and take this entire planetary fortress down, as those Broodlings do deal a lot of damage. But out rolls out the Terran army. Mass Marines, Vikings, medevacs, about to do a prime, just doing a very, very devastating hit. But as soon as those infestors get a hit off with those fungal growths, that is going to change things around. There you go. And so many, one fungal growth hitting more of those units. Another beautiful fungal growth, as the infestors now have to be very careful. Banelings now rolling in, and who is going to come out on top? So many of the Marines getting taken down. Broodlords are still in the air. Infestors looking to drop in some more fungal growth. Perhaps hitting some of the Vikings too would be very beneficial, as there are also spine crawlers here as well. Shortsutff really showing how strong this Zerg tier 3 army is. The only thing that I would suggest is that Shortsutff actually utilize Queens in this army as well, as Queens are very effective units now with that range of 5, and can also transfuse some of those infestors and Broodlords. Very, very expensive units with relatively low hit points. Alright, Shortsutff now very happy with the position he's currently in. About a 5,000, 6,000 resource difference between the two armies have been, or the losses between these two armies, as the Broodlords are simply just going to escort up over here, drop off the kids to destroy the planetary fortress, and then move along his merry way. Zergling's going to be able to do a quick run by, not even bothering to take down the Thor. Yeah, raising up the supply depot there, Kaz, does not help at all, as the starports are going to get focused down. Alright, so after five maximum size armies from Terran, Shortsutff was able to handle it, and there is the GG. Well played to Shortsutff. Shortsutff playing a cold and calculating style of Zerg, taking game 1 in this series. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.